Welcome! Today we'll talk about the 10 differences of chess and shogi. The first major difference of chess and shogi is the design of the pieces. Chess pieces are divided into two colored pieces, which are black and white. You have 2 rooks, 2 knights, 2 bishops, 1 queen, 1 king, and 8 pawns, which makes up 16 pieces on each side. In chess, the player using the white pieces goes first and followed by the player with the black pieces. This is reversed in shogi. Black starts first and followed by white. The first mover black is called sente and second mover is called gote. Shogi pieces, or koma in Japanese, are wooden wedges with pentagonal sides. You have 1 rook, 1 bishop, 2 lancers, 2 knights, 2 silver generals, 2 gold generals, 1 king, and 9 pawns, which makes up 20 pieces on each side. The shogi pieces all look the same. So how do we differentiate them from one piece to another? Each of the names of the shogi pieces are written on the surface. You might also ask, but Jen, the colors of the pieces are the same, so how do we know which pieces are ours? The pointed side of your piece will be facing towards the opponent. The size of a chessboard is 8 by 8, the shogi board is 9 by 9. Shogi has a larger board with 81 squares compared to the 64 squares in chess, which leads to more permutations of shogi positions on the board. The layout of the initial position of shogi is also different from chess. In shogi, both sides starts with the same position of pieces. The bishop is always placed on the left side and the rook on the right. While in chess, the positions of the king and queen is different for white and black. The shape of the two boards are also different. Chess is played on a square board while shogi is actually played on a rectangular board. The squares of the chessboard are checkered with alternating black and white squares, but the shogi board has no colored squares. Chess is usually played on a table, while there are also table shogi boards. Traditionally, shogi is played on the tatami with very high quality floorboard, or shogiban in Japanese. These high quality shogi boards are mostly used in shogi professional matches or prestigious title matches like the Ryo title match. In chess, capturing the enemy piece removes them from the board. Shogi, on the other hand, gains the captured piece in your hand. On your turn, you can drop the captured piece to any empty squares on the board. In chess, there's a rule called en passant, which allows a pawn to capture the opponent's pawn that has just moved 2 squares forward. This rule does not exist in shogi. Removing pieces in chess slows down the endgame, where in the end there's only the king and a few pieces on the board. Shogi endgames, however, do get faster each turn because the pieces are not removed from the game and still come back in play in the future. Typically in shogi endgames, both players are usually in a mutual attack, where each player is trying to checkmate the opponent before getting checkmated themselves, dropping pieces consecutively that leads to a forced checkmate. In both chess and shogi, pieces can promote into a stronger piece, but the way they promote the pieces are very different. Let me explain. When the chess pawn reaches the last rank of the board, it can choose to promote into a queen, rook, bishop, or knight. But in shogi, the promotion zone is at the last 3 ranks of the board. All the pieces except for the king and the gold general can choose to promote. Promoting a piece in shogi is entirely optional, and sometimes players under-promote a piece as an advanced technique to fork pieces on the board or technique for checkmate. When the promoted piece gets captured, it returns to its original form. Forward moving pieces like the pawn, lance, and knight are forced to promote when they reach the last rank of the board. Piece promotion is much more common in shogi because the promotion zones are much nearer to the starting position. In fact, players can promote as early from the 3rd move after they open the bishop diagonal. Chess and shogi pieces have different movements. For example, a chess pawn can choose to move 2 spaces forwards on their first move. In shogi, pawns can only move 1 square at a time. The movements of knights are also different in both games. Shogi knights are weaker because they can only move forwards. In shogi, most of the pieces can only move 1 square, while chess has mostly high mobility pieces. Due to this, shogi games are slower in the opening, where both players spend their moves setting up their attack and protecting the king with different castle formations. Speaking of castles, castling in chess and shogi are different. The castling rule is unique to chess, where the king and one of the rooks of each side can move together in a defensive move. In Shogi, there is no castling move. Players need to move their generals one step at a time to form up defensive formations to protect the king. There is up to 40 different castles with their distinct shapes and formations and names in Shogi. Most common castles in Shogi are the Mino Castle, Yagura Castle, Boat Castle, Bury in the Hole Castle, and so on. Due to the nature of Shogi that allow captured pieces to come back into the game, there are less draws in Shogi compared to chess. But if a Shogi position is repeated 4 times with the same player to move and the same pieces in hand, the game ends in a draw, or we call it Senichite. In professional Shogi, Senichite does not result in the end of a game. Professional players must restart the game with the sides reversed until one true winner emerges. Unlike chess, there is no tradition of offering a mutual draw by agreement. Perpetual check is not allowed and results in a loss. Stalemate in Shogi is virtually impossible unless one side captures all the pieces, and it's a loss for the player who gets stalemated. Shogi has a well-developed handicap system for different levels of players, whereas chess players don't really play handicap games and it's almost never used as an instructive tool. Handicap games in Shogi is called Koma Ochi. It is widely used in teaching games where professional or stronger Shogi players start with less pieces depending on the strengths of both players. The handicap giver is called Uwate, the handicap receiver is called Shitate. How do we decide which handicap to be played? Referring to the table here, if the difference of strengths between both players are 10 ranks or above, the stronger players remove 6 pieces from their starting position. The handicap giver always starts first, except for Sente handicap. Handicap games are actually very beneficial in Shogi because it bridges the gaps of players and gives the weaker player training wheels to learn how to play Shogi. It also gives the new player a sense of achievement after they have beaten a 10-piece handicap. They can move on to challenge the next level, which is the 8-piece handicap, and so on. If a new player keeps on playing an even game with a stronger player, they might get disappointed or unmotivated to continue playing Shogi, despite the daily practice they have put in. Handicap games are also a good practice for the stronger players as well, because they can learn how to use the minor pieces like the silver generals and gold generals effectively. Next, let's talk about player rankings and different titles and tournaments in both chess and Shogi world. One of the major international governing bodies for chess is FIDE. Players from all over the world have FIDE ratings, which uses the ELO rating system. Different titles may be awarded to FIDE players that have achieved a minimum rating for the title, such as Grandmasters, International Masters, FIDE Masters, and so on. Shogi in Japan uses the Q-Dan ranking system. Amateur players are ranked starting from 15Q to 1Q, and then they promote into 1Dan to 7Dan as they go higher in rank. In the Japan Shogi Association, there is a separate ranking system for Shogi professionals, or Kishi. Shogi professionals are ranked from 4Dan to 9Dan. There is also a women's category, which is the Women's Shogi Professional or Joryu Kishi, which starts from 3Q to 6Dan, and that is also separate from the regular Shogi Professional rankings. Shogi Professional rankings are eternal. Once they have achieved it, they do not fluctuate like chess ELO ratings. The Federation of European Shogi Associations, or FISA, uses ELO for their official rating system. The most prestigious tournament in chess is the FIDE World Championship, where the winner of the tournament will be crowned the title World Champion. Also, congratulations to Ding Liren for winning the latest World Championship. In Shogi, there are 8 major title tournaments and several non-title tournaments for Shogi professionals. The 2 of the most prestigious titles for Shogi are the Meijin title and the Ryo title. Depending on the tournament, the challenger of the title and the title holder must play in a certain number of matches from a best of 3 to a best of 7 series to decide the new title holder. At the time of this video, Fuji Sota has won 6 out of the 8 titles under his belt, and he set the record to be the youngest player in history to obtain 6 titles at the same time. Lastly, I will talk about the different time controls used in Shogi and chess. In tournaments, chess and shogi games are usually played with a time control. If a player times runs out before the game is completed, the game is automatically lost. Chess games are usually played with a fixed time together with an increment or none at all. Shogi also has a fixed time but with an additional clock called byoyomi. After the fixed time have expired, the byoyomi clock will start counting down immediately. The player will now have 60 seconds to complete a move. After the move has been done, the clock will reset to 60 seconds again. Byoyomi in shogi gives players a decent amount of time to be able to calculate in the endgame, while also providing the players the chance to play the best moves possible for an exciting game. Do you think chess games should be played with byoyomi? Let me know in the comments below. These are the 10 differences of chess and shogi. If you are a chess player, you should definitely give shogi a try. Thank you for sticking around until the end of the video. If you liked the video, please consider giving a thumbs up. All your comments are appreciated. I would love to hear more about other topics that you would like me to talk about. And remember to subscribe for more shogi videos. Thanks for watching. See you soon.